who you probably already guessed is a great guy. He invited me to come and read from the Ghost Town USA chapbook at his book launch. A very sort of kind thing for him to offer, and it was a lot of fun because we were at Alberta Street Pub, and those motherfuckers love to hear people make fun of Vancouver. So Ghost Town USA went over great at Alberta Street Pub, and he knows how I feel about him, but I just want to thank Tommy again for making me part of that. That was a great night. So I thought what I would do to start the second half, because it's been a while since I've read any Ghost Town stuff, is to just read two from 2014. I might have read the first one over at Cover to Cover, but the second one I don't think anyone's heard. So the first one is Outside Compass Coffee with George Thomas, who I call the Henry Miller of Ghost Town. August 7, 2014. A tangle of blondes, unable to refrain from caressing their own tan and possibly long legs, slowly, unself-consciously trace invisible lines from knee to inner thigh, a serious distraction from the discussion of poetry. Old eye traces collarbone, seeks the darkness between crossed and uncrossed legs, breathes a sigh of pleasure and a bit of relief when they twirl off in three separate trajectories, dancing in circles like dervish nymphs till the summer breeze wind lifts their skirts. Yes. And that's what can happen if you tear yourself away from the computer screen and go outside here in Vancouver. Whoa. We were talking about some pretty serious, deep poetry shit, and I didn't care anymore. And this is after school, October 30th of the same year. Serene, sublime, she stretches in silence, like a statue, like a feline, grooms herself unself-consciously. Young mother brushes her hair, files her nails, sitting alone in the blue sedan, in the school parking lot, in the rain. Okay, so to start us off for the second half of Ghost Town Poetry, reading here for the first time, please say hello to Connor Simon.
Yep.
Connor Simon.
Hi there. So I ran off my phone. Seems like cardinal sin. Everyone else reads off paper, but I'll try my best.
We're not using phone here.
Good. Glad. This is called One Night I Read Too Much Still for You. It was bound to happen eventually. The self-destructive streak was always too prominent to outrun for long. From the moment that a less hairy ape stumbled upon the dread power of flame, it was merely a waiting game. An inevitability that the fuse would run out one of these days, and we would be caught in it. For every lustrous glory, every ode to our intrinsic brotherhood, there were 10 moments of violence, a hydra made comfortable by decadence. Even moments we proclaimed with a mixture of pride and self-congratulatory glee are made ignoble by these baser traits. Artists whose patronage derived from the spoils of warlords and generals, grasping to achieve a semblance of immortality through beauty. Titians made into propagandists, playwrights coerced by questions of state and national security, beat war drums that become masterpieces. Healers connive to be agents of the basic profit motive, and our galactic ambitions make a game of extinction-level brinkmanship. Yes, it's a damn near-run thing we've made it this far, competing against ourselves in a race whose finish is drawing closer every day. But of course, it's not to say I'm bitter, perhaps resigned more than anything, knowing how these things go. The minute can be made grand, that I've seen struggle, and I've seen how easily even the good can stumble. There's no one to blame here, no place where any finger can point, and at this juncture a moralist will simply do no good. There's naught to be done. Little acts of love don't prevent the inescapable, and poetry reaches deaf ears. But the robins in my mother's garden don't despair, and nor will I, have an increased notebook. For me, that must be enough. And then one more. This one, and I really am not great at making up titles for anything, right? But this one is called, Upon Realizing That My Dad Is Getting Old and I Miss the Ocean. When ambling with my words, struggling, wrestling to find a form fit for the trappings of truth that I periodically dress myself in, I am reminded of a segment of the Oregon coast near where my grandmother lived when I was younger. It was somewhere north of Depot Bay in some nondescript town. Perhaps it was Lincoln City, or perhaps it never had a name. Its shacks and novelty bodegas and its denizens, besides my fiery-eyed grandmother, are no more than extensions of an ancient and tempestuous sea. All I can summon with clarity is the sound of the tide rushing in as it overtakes my ankles and makes my hair stand on its edge. The wails of seagulls pierce the placid summer sky, and somewhere out past the pinnacle of the surf, lonely boats unfurl their sails. My father and I would clamber up the sand hills that line the strip of land, to meet rugged and carved caves of orange and brown. The enormity of those hills, of rock outcrops, dwarfed my childhood conceptions of time, passion, the ephemeral things of youth, completely in ways I can barely write of now. I'm sure I didn't think that then, though. The lens of memory gives eloquence to what must have been generalized moods of awe and struggle. My father climbed with confidence while my legs, denying the energy of supposed juvenescence, knocked and wobbled atop shifting sand marked with thin brush. The sun, though certainly radiating its usual warmth, was by no means oppressive, and as the last reserves of strength waned, we reached the top of this dune. An achievement, perhaps, at least to a boy for whom the world consisted of apartments, well-groomed parks, and the enjoyment of urban life. From here, though, atop this bulge of earth, my universe became as broad as the great body before me, stretching into the haze that is the horizon. My father said something, a question or statement, a benediction or warning, I do not know. The waves crash against rocks whose name and type again, I do not know. But I do know that the mermaids, green-haired and amorous specters spying upon the world of dirt, did not sing to me, nor did the sirens lure me in with their dread songs. The waters had no aim but to whittle away at those rocks, while I tried, and perhaps still do try, to suss out meaning that doesn't exist, has never existed, and never will, even as fervent pens ache to prove otherwise. I'm still there, I suppose, my father with his arm around my shoulders, as we marvel at the sheer scope of the ocean that neither of us were raised by. And while at my desk, unnamed jazz strings play on worn speakers, through the rattle, I can hear the waves diminishing stoic earth, and I can see the dunes I once climbed.
Thank you very much. I hope that was a good experience for you.
Yeah.
And I was telling Connor beforehand, his dad owns I Like Comics, which is one of the places that Angela and I absolutely love. And I was telling him during the break that I'm basically a newbie, or maybe I shouldn't call myself that after having spent as much money as I spent there, but I didn't grow up reading comic books, and what's really great about I Like Comics is even if you're someone like me that isn't just steeped in all the lore and knows all the universes and all that stuff, when you go in there, they don't make you feel like a jerk. They really make you feel welcome, and they'll answer any stupid question I have, and I usually have about 50 before I leave with my purchase. So anyway, like Ghost Town Poetry, I Like Comics recently moved downtown. They're on Broadway now, Broadway and I guess, and 17th. So, please stop over there. Really, and if you've never been in one, that would be a great place for your first experience, because like I said, everyone is welcome and all of your dumb questions will be answered with a smile. Yeah, great place. And I hope you come back. Thanks for coming. Okay, we are next going to hear from Ian Caton. Welcome.
I've been reading studying some Chinese poetry, studying some Japanese poetry, studying some forms, trying to write the haikus and things like that. But then I got this book for 95 cents plus shipping and handling. I'm not going to tell you where, but it's,
Wait, let us guess.
so it's a good book. It was it's called Sunflower Splendor, and it's one of those textbooks that you would read in college or something like that. And it's all about translations. And so I was interested in reading Tu Fu and Li Po and those giants. And then as an anthology, this kind of goes from the year like 1000 BC up until now. So it's like a 3,000-year-old survey of poetry. And then at the end, the last poet in here, to my surprise, is Mao Zedong. And he's got some fucking poetry, man. So I'm going to read a little bit of Mao. You talk about some fucking poetry here. First let me read this one from lead poet, because we're in a wine bar. And I love the title of your poem, because it was a lot like those Chinese poems where they just kind of tell you where they are and what they're thinking and all that kind of stuff. So this is called Drinking Alone Beneath the Moon, 2 selections. So 1, a pot of wine among the flowers. I drink alone, no kith or kin near. I raise my cup to invite the moon to join me. It and my shadow make a party of 3. Alas, the moon is unconcerned about drinking, and my shadow merely follows me around. Briefly, I cavort with the moon and my shadow. Pleasure must be sought while it is spring. I sing and dance. I sing and the moon goes back and forth. I dance and my shadow falls at random. While sober, we seek pleasure in fellowship. When drunk, we go each our own way. Then let us pledge a friendship without human ties, and meet again at the far end of the Milky Way. 2, if heaven weren't fond of wine, Wine Star would not be found in heaven. If earth weren't fond of wine, there could be no wine spring on earth. Since heaven and earth are fond of wine, in heaven being fond of wine can't be judged wrong. Clear wine, I've heard, is compared to sages. Also the unstrained wine spoken as of worthies. Since I've drunk both sages and worthies, why must I seek out the immortals? 3 cups penetrate the great truth. 1 gallon accords with nature's laws. Simply find pleasure in wine. Speak not of it to the sober ones. And this is from Chairman Mao. He's got some shit here, man. Red, this is called, or it's called Tapo Tea. It's written to the tune Viva Like Barbarian. Red, orange, yellow, green, turquoise, blue, violet. Who's waving this rainbow flag against the sky? After the rain, sunlight slants down again, and the mountain passes, range after range, turned green. That year of bloody battle raged. Bullet holes dotted the wall, the village just passed. The stars on the mountain pass make it lovelier today. Yeah. And then one more. This is called Snow, and it's written to the tune Spring in Princess Chin In's Garden. So it's a song. It should be read to a song. Northern landscape, 1,000 miles around covered by ice, 10,000 miles under snowdrifts. On both sides of the Great Wall, I see vast wastes. Up and down the great river, suddenly the torrents are still. Mountains wind around like silver serpents. High headlands ramble about like waxen elephants. On the verge of the challenging heaven. A sunny day is best for watching the red against the white. Extraordinary enchantment. The rivers and mountains have a special charm that inspires countless heroes to great deeds. Pity the first sovereign and the martial emperor had small talent for literature. And the founding fathers of Tang and Sung lacked both grace and charm. In his own generation, favored by heaven, Genghis Khan knew only how to bend the bow, bringing down the great vulture. All these are gone now. To single out the men of high character, we must look to now, the present. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And I don't know if we do have some new faces tonight. If anyone is here for the first time, we like to hear from other poets, old poets, dead poets. So, if you're someone that's not a writer and wants to participate, or if you have friends who have favorite poems but are not writing poems themselves, poetry is an oral tradition, so we want to hear these things in the air and get it out and hear some of it. So let everybody know that everybody's welcome to participate that way. And it's always nice. And I didn't know either that, I knew a little bit about now, but not about the poetry, so thank you. Okay, next we're going to hear from Alex, who was with us last month, so welcome back to Ghost Town. Alex.
First off, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's read tonight and is going to read tonight. So far, it's been really amazing. So last month, I read some fresh, funny technology poems. But I'm going back to my roots here, literally. And I'm going to read some more personal poems that are not quite as self-deprecating. And the first one I'm going to read is my first poem that I was ever published. So this one is called Pando I Spread. Words are carved into the trunk of a famous painting by Gustav Klimt. Names left by lonesome boys with pocket knives. Sentences about succouring colonial colonies of populous tremuloides. Punctuation written by sisters striking at the bark with garden hose. Once gaping exclamations now sealed by sap and concentric rings into a shriveled period. The words, insecure like brush strokes, are weary of their own permanence, but afraid to be erased by a fresh coat of paint. The fearless ones are ground up, wood pulp, spoken by grandmothers who sharpen them into painful hatchets and chop into the cellulose and gold leaf assembly of the tree of life. It's clear-cut, by mothers who coddle branches with their pruning shear fingers, hoping to cut the poplar hangnails growing out of the knots, and trim away the burdens of 80,000 years of words. A forest of one individual, older and heavier than any living organism, and still at the mercy of tempered steel words. Trembling giant, tangled up in its own roots, quaking like a river overflowing with tributaries. Shaking aspen fingers, trying to grasp onto a cradle of loose oil paint soil, while scars appear like names on his pale bark. And that was my first published poem. This is it's not published, but it's my most recent finished poem. And it's called Lightspeed. And weird thing about it is it is backwards. But even so far away as history, she shines just as bright. The baby is not yet as close to us as light. You see a baby. You see its nose that resembles its mother's and its great-grandmother's before her. You pass time and immeasurable distance simply for a peek. You glance back at the marble, the egg, the berry where you came. You can look in all directions. Every parallel battery, they are so vast and quick, like expanse and desert. You know that they are all you, and you are they too. You are photo-sapien. You are fast and color and going. You see my grandpa, or what he has become. You see, he is part of the geometric machine. That his tetrahedral cog is right beside grandmother's. Hers is beside her son's, uncle, the butterfly. A lot like flowers, you think. Not like being gone. So fast, comfort. It is red and angles and yellow and dimensions and orange welcome. A geometric, not shape, more time. A tessellation of movement. You smile like I used to. It doesn't work. You see a shape in the distance, increased speed, less hurt, cherished burst. Grandfather Way squeezes tightly in spiral arms. Soul flares a farewell kiss. Goodbye, solar system. Outward, further, farther, unsure, too slow, it hurts. You unfold, you race, stretched to her, old God, granny, aunt. You tap what was once finger pads, and a blink of light gestures towards soul. You go outward. I'm you. I'm not even I'm. I'm upward, but that's not a direction. Rush, surge, whoosh, condensed, pressure, pops. Eardrum? No ears. It's not whooshing. Part 1. The battery empties. I die. I babble out the story I wrote about death, a story about losing half of yourself, saying goodbye to your own image. I'm crying because it's not working. I do die. I'm old. My family is beside me, small parts, good people. They talk to me to keep my mind off the coming end. I'll be impact. I'll cross my fingers and just go. I'll die when my body battery has finished charging. I'll die. That's what the paintings and the poetry books and my grandpa tell me. I think my grandpa is the light, or I think my grandma is the light in our oven. She's the succession of beats. She's calling. But maybe we don't become light. Maybe we're faster than that. When a brother dies, sometimes they come to us in our dreams with wings. At first, I laugh at my grandpa. We become light when we die. He obviously smiles. When an artist dies, some of their scales fall off their paintings. Ultraviolet light reveals the messages like heat and lemon juice. My family symbol is the butterfly. There are hidden messages in butterfly wings. My grandpa nods. Maybe death comes first. Painting, nebula, person, death, poetry. I need to know the order. The paintings on my wall are not much different from the pillars of creation. They remain the same in our eyes for generations. They are images capturing light or reflecting it. My grandfather would know. The human body is a battery. He shakes his head. My fingers automatically snap to the sound of the metaphor. My grandpa says the human body is a battery. It will take 7,000 years before we see a change in the picture. These are unfathomable distances to travel. In 25 years, it has hardly changed to us. It is past. It's beautiful. Today, NASA revealed a new Hubble image of the pillars of creation. The biggest of the 3 pillars is 4 light years long. The entire set is 7,000 light years from Earth. My grandpa explains death to me. It makes no logical sense. But it's the only theology I ever believed. I cannot see it. The 3 poetry books don't make sense either. Charles Wright, Charles Simic, the third fell onto the floor. The fabric was wrinkled when it was painted to make it look cracked and aged. It's vehicular somehow. It looks like a logo or geometric form. The third painting makes no sense. I feel like it keeps me attached to something. I don't like it as much as the others because it's mostly brown. It's more detailed, less abstract though. The second painting is of a barn. Did he ever see the desert light? It's painted on cloth like the others and hangs from a black frame. Silhouetted trees, an orange speckled sky. The first painting is of a desert. Same sure look. I laugh, it's impossible. We talk about how light speed would kill humans. A body cannot exist that fast. He smiles. He says, what about faster? He's convinced. His expression sure. My grandpa knows about trees, not the speed of light, right? My grandpa was a park ranger, I think. He had a rich brother who died. They made jokes about losing their hair together. How does he know? My grandpa told me about how we charge. There is no pattern that I can devise. It beeps sporadically in quick successions. Most ovens beep these days, but ours beeps by itself. Unlike the poets who wrote the poetry books, the paintings were made by my uncle. He's dead. There are 3 poetry books sitting on my bed. I have 3 paintings hanging on my wall.
Thank you. I have a friend named Jonathan who was here earlier and who left. So I just want to make sure, because I have Jonathan on the list, that there is not another Jonathan out there who was hoping to read tonight. Is that a possibility? Okay, so I think that was him. If there isn't another Jonathan out there waiting. Okay, so that brings us to Rhonda Grace. Welcome, Rhonda Grace.
Well, you know, I have never wrote up maybe tonight. I've been as far as I Okay, this one is called Unspoken. Heart's desire unacknowledged, afraid to feel again. To be complete and whole, as if I did not deserve love's true voice. Love grew in a tender space, felt in every kiss, realized in every word. Time spun in an hourglass. In each moment, a heart's beat, rain falls, stars twinkle, a breath caught, a love left unspoken. And that's the first one. And the next one is just for fun. It's called 7 Up. Wonderful is he, 2 times wet with me, 3 kept me coming more, so tenderly. 4 stood tall and ever proud, 5 made me yell for more. 6 times my mouth was full, 7 Up was spent all night. Bubbles now fizzed out. Thank you.
And next we have Jan Ice.
Okay, this piece was inspired by a couple different things. Once was, I was trying to photograph water, and I wrote down, memories are like water as seen through a camera lens, constantly flowing in and out of focus. And then more recently, someone posted a meme on Facebook, which I spend way too much time on. And it's from allgreatquotes.com. Sometimes memories leak out of my eyes and roll down my cheeks. And so this piece is called Memories Flow from His Eyes. Shaded memory drifts, dark currents circle round. Shadows move in dimly lit depths, swirling quietly along with faded songs. Cascading in a rush, churning round obscure boulders, cold, wind-blown waves, crashing over trembling lips. Memories flow. Memories eddy and flow. Bubble to the surface, slip through gray lashes, trickle down an ancient cheek, filter through stubble on his chin, and drip into oblivion.
Hey, we're getting close to the end, but one of the things I wanted to say is, if any of the folks back there want to get closer to the action, there were some people that decided not to join us for the second half, and there are a bunch of empty seats up here if you'd like to get a little bit closer. I promise I won't spit on you. I can't speak for the other readers, but and so next we have our most regular. He's been with us from the very beginning, Jim Martin.
Thank you.
Oh.
You just raised it up and I'm gonna
Lefty Lucy, righty tighty.
10 years later, still waiting to get the next.
There we go.
Just wanted to get closer to you.
Thank you very much.
So cute.
Yay.
I went to the doctor, last time I went to the doctor, they kept me in the hall and measured me. I'm 3.5 inches shorter than I was when I was 19. That knocked me out.
Thanks, Obama.
Word slip. Do words slip away from a thought's grasp in the process of nailing it down? Do our words, when they enter our space, evaporate like wisps of water vapor from a sidewalk puddle in the sun's warming caress? Do they leave the thought intact? Beneath the evaporating words, do they describe the thought as it is? Or do they tell the universe what we imagine it to be? And the last one doesn't have a title other than 2, the Roman numeral 2. Okay, what's this thought about? Patches tumble through the back of my left temporal lobe. You're beautiful. I love that jacket. Can't get away from your eyes. Poetry or reading. Sitting next to you. Talking. Talking. Oh, talking. You and I, comfy room, books and people. I love your hair. Poets folding bits of paper. Poets speaking. Me, you, together. I'm afraid you might say no. The room is friendly. I really like you. In my left frontal lobe, words to say this thought arrange themselves. Move to motor bands nearby. Say the words I hear as if from a great distance. Would you like to go to the reading at Cover to Cover Thursday evening? Along the way from left temporal to left frontal, nuance was left behind. Just a few paltry words passed from my lips to you.
And, you know, my guess would be that Mel, the owner of Cover to Cover, is probably working on her novel rather than watching the hours of video from Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic on YouTube. But just in case she sees this video, we miss you, Mel, and thank you for 8 years of, being our home. Okay. Next we're going to hear from Russ. Oh, there he is. Hi, Russ. Come on up.
Since it's March, I plucked this book out of one of our many stacks of books around our small apartment. The Feckin' Book of Everything Irish, a Gansey Load of Deadly Crack for Acute Plurs and Bowsies by Colin Murphy and Donald O'Day. And I found this one. There's a section, it's a fun book. There's recipes, jokes, songs. This is the Waxies Dargle. It's a traditional, has a little paragraph of explanation at the beginning. You just can't argue with a title like that. The Waxies, if you're interested, refers to the candle makers. And the Dargle is the river which reaches the shore of Ireland, near Bray in County Wicklow. The Waxies Dargle was their annual outing, or piss-up in more contemporary parlance. Now there's some useless information to bore your friends with the next time you're in the pub. So I'm going to invite you to join me on the chorus. I'll give it to you first, and then I'll speak this because I have no idea what the tune is. So. And I feel it's a drinking song, a drunken song. There you go. Yeah.
Doing some drinking.
And with those, I think it's just that you keep on making an effort more than you singing correctly or whatever. So here's the chorus. You can join me on this if you wish. What are ye saying? Will ye have a pint? Yes, I'll have a pint with you, sir. And if one of us doesn't order soon, we'll be thrown out of the boozer. Okay. So watch for that. Sing along.
I already forgot it.
Says my old one to your old one, will you come to the Waxy's Dargle? Says your old one to my old one, sure, I haven't got a farthing. I've just been down to Monto Town to see Uncle McArdle, but he wouldn't lend me half a crown to go to the Waxy's Dargle. So here you go. What are ye having? Will ye have a pint? Yes, I'll have a pint with you, sir. And if one of us doesn't order soon, we'll be thrown out of the booze. Says my old one to your old one, will ye come to the Galway races? Says your old one to my old one, with the price of my old lad's braces. I went down to Capel Street, to the pawn shop money lenders, but they wouldn't give me a couple of bob on my old lad's red suspenders. What are ye having? Will ye have a pint? Yes, I'll have a pint with you, sir. And if one of us doesn't order soon, we'll be both thrown out of the booze. Says my old one to your old one, we have no beef or mutton. But if we go down to Monto Town, we might get a drink for nothing. Here's a piece of good advice I got from an old fishmonger. When food is scarce and you see the hearse, you'll know you've died of hunger. What are ye having? Will ye have a pint? Yes, I'll have a pint with you, sir. And if one of us doesn't order soon, we'll be thrown out of the booze. So thank you. And have a great Patrick's St. Patrick's Day.
And, you know, one of the great things about doing this kind of an event is every once in a while, someone just completely takes your breath away, and that's what happened last month with our next reader. So please welcome back again, Doug Westberg.
I'm full of Wellbutrin, Prozac, Trazodone, Hydrozoline.
Shit, yeah. Sorry.
Got a little excited there.
Prilosec, Imodium, and Gas-X. Which brings me to the topic of my presentation. I'm going to read tonight from my book, The Depressed Guy's Book of Wisdom. I'm a Science Channel junkie. You know, there's no such thing as matter anymore. Scientists are saying everything is made of quantum particles, tiny blips of energy with names like quark, WIMP, muon. You can predict the probability of them being in a particular place, but you can't observe them, because as soon as you do, they disappear and go into a parallel dimension like little subatomic cockroaches. The bottom line is, when you get down to the most basic layer of existence, everything is just information. It's like the universe is one big computer. I just hope it's not a Commodore 64. If there are an infinite number of parallel universes, then somewhere there's a universe in which I'm not depressed. There's also a universe in which I'm a hyena. Only 5% of the universe is matter as we know it. 95% of the universe is made up of dark matter and dark energy, just like me. Almost every galaxy has a supermassive black hole at its center, just like me. You can see why I love cosmology. There's a common misconception that drugs like Prozac, Zoloft, and Paxil are happy pills. Antidepressants don't make you happy. They just make it less likely you'll be sad. It's so depressing. You can get into a lot of trouble thinking you're doing so well you don't need your meds anymore. It's like being up on the roof of your house thinking, I'm doing great, I don't need a ladder anymore. They say depression is genetic. I inherited mine from my father. That's right, my father handed down his blue genes. Someday all mental illness will be found to be strictly biological. The doctor will know exactly what kind of medicine will fix you right up, and only Magic Johnson will be able to afford it. But for now, treating depression with medication is a trial and error process, appalling as that sounds. The prescriber makes an educated guess, but basically it's a crapshoot. Neither one of you knows for sure whether it's going to work until you've been on it for at least a month. Kind of like calling the Microsoft help desk. In the pithy insights department, if I were another species, my symptoms would be diagnosed as being a cat. The same kind of trial and error goes into developing medications. For years, I took a drug for my depression that was commonly prescribed for manic depression and was originally developed as a seizure medication. Cymbalta was originally marketed as an antidepressant. Apparently, they found out it works on physical pain as well as mental pain because now all the commercials are pushing it for rheumatism. So it got me to thinking, I bet morphine would do wonders for my depression. I'd be all over that study in a heartbeat. And the Pithy Insights department, every hurricane starts out as a tropical depression. I know exactly what it's going through. Subconsciously, depression is a way of solving a problem. However, as solutions go, it ranks right up there with trickle-down economics and the rhythm method. The idea seems to be that if I do nothing and pretend they're not there, my problems will go away. Ironically, 90% of the time, this is exactly what happens. It's the other 10% that screws up my life. Bills, notably. I can tell the pile of bills on my desk is too high when my cat prefers it to the litter box. True story. I signed up for a credit reporting service. It cost me $5 a month. Every month they send me a report in the mail. In 10 years, I have not opened one single envelope from them. I know my credit's in the toilet, so I make myself more depressed seeing it in print. Pithy Insight Department. Depression is like giving yourself a colonoscopy without a scope. I hear this a lot. Depression is a sincere form of self-pity. That's wrong. Depression is self-pity misdirected. So that makes it an insincere form of self-pity. Self-pity is a sincere form of depression. So feel sorry for yourself, it's healthier and it's more honest. There's major depression and then there's clinical depression. Major depression is what makes you jump off a bridge. I have clinical depression. I jump out of first-story windows. It's the psychological equivalent of lying on a bed of rubber nails. And in the gags and handcuffs department, I'm writing a new song about post-traumatic stress disorder. It's called The Slog is Ended, but the Malady Lingers On. And finally, I'd like to close with a haiku. Fragrant jade blossoms, butterfly sings in colors. I wish I were dead. Thank you.
Okay. I think that's better than any Chairman Mao's haikus.
Those are the bullets.
Huh?
Those are the bullets.
And with bullets, they all end in bloodshed, and yes, I imagine. A brief stop for a few announcements. We did mention David Meltzer is coming and we're looking for donations. Perhaps you have some friends who have, more disposable income than everyone in this room has. You might want to donate a little bit, but every little bit helps, and you can donate directly to the gallery, as I mentioned. Just trying to pay for him to have a place to stay. He has some medical issues, and some meals and stuff while they're here. Yes.
Cost of tell them what the enrollment cost, registration cost is for.
I don't remember. What is the registration cost?
It's 20 for students, 25 for teachers, and 30 for the general public.
Yes, Meltzer's book that's being republished by City Lights is called Two-Way Mirror, a Poetry Notebook. It's a fantastic book about the art of poetry, and his talk will be on that book and some of the stuff contained in that book. It's pretty great. So great that it's being reprinted. Great that David is still, around for now to talk to us about. He's amazing. And what happened when David Meltzer came the last time we brought him, which is I think 2008 or so, is that everybody fell in love with him, basically. Yeah. So be prepared to fall in love. Also, there's a monthly workshop that I teach right next door at Niche. Second Saturday of the month. I do that because it makes it easy to remember. It's usually a couple of days after this, and it will indeed be this Saturday, noon to 3 next door. $20 suggested donation, which means if you or your friends don't have $20 or don't feel like paying, please come anyway and enjoy doing some writing with us. I have a pretty big collection of spoken word recordings, and I almost always play a few of those to build into our prompts. So. And we have a good time. There are definitely some people here tonight too who have taken it if you want to hear from any of them. What else? Oh, Tony Partington will be reading at Delancey Chinese Garden on April 4th. It's a Saturday at 3 p.m. An absolutely beautiful place, and the room that they have for poets there is unlike anything I've ever seen.
Is that in Portland?
Delancey Chinese Garden in Portland,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and Daniel Sketch Mills, who is a previous feature in the Ghost Town series, is a docent there. I think that's his title. And one of the things he does as a docent